Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome if this is your first time here, and welcome if you are already a subscriber. My name is Lauren and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we're actually going to talk about this phenomenon that I have experienced, but I never really knew a word for it or a term for it. I never realized that other people felt the same thing when they were out in these specific areas. I was actually on Reddit earlier today and I came across a thread going into detail about exactly how I felt when I was in certain areas. And I thought it was so weird. I didn't really know a lot of other people experienced it. I've been going through it since I was a little girl and since I was exploring. I still feel it sometimes now when I'm out exploring, even if I'm not at a haunted location, even if I'm just in a certain area and I start feeling a certain way. This phenomenon is called panic in the woods. And I know it sounds like Panic at the Disco, that's kind of what I thought at first. But basically it's when you're out in a large wooded area and all of a sudden it's deafening silence, you can hear your ears ringing, and you have this certain feeling of anxiety, you want to run, you want to disappear, and you feel like people are watching you. You feel like you're not alone out in the woods, you feel like someone is watching you and that there's a sinister evil close to you and something wants to harm you. So, like many people, you begin to run. Now, a lot of people say that this doesn't take place just out in the woods. It can also happen in a cave. It can happen out in an open field far away from civilization, out in the desert, any place like that where you are far away from people and that the silence is so deafening that it almost makes you go insane. I grew up in a very small town in Northwest Ohio. I'm talking less than 1,000 residents. We were surrounded by a lot of wooded areas, a lot of farmland, and I explored all of it. I remember there were a lot of times I went to this one specific wooded area that was close to other houses, but once I got lost in there, it seemed like there was no civilization anywhere close to me. I couldn't hear anything, and I just panicked. And I would feel so scared. I felt like people were watching me. It wasn't even at night. It was usually during the middle of the day when I would explore, and I would also go out with other friends, but we would split off. I could hear nothing. I felt like all eyes are on me. I felt like anywhere I turn, there would be someone hiding behind a tree, ready to hurt me or ready to take me. Now, the term for this actually comes from the Greek god Pan, who is the protector of wild spirits. He protects wild forests, wild spirits, spirits in these areas. That is why usually when you look up this phenomenon, the first three words, P-A-N, of panic, are usually capitalized. It is called Panic in the Woods, and it is actually very largely experienced by a lot of people. Even people who are not deeply into the paranormal, but decide they want to go exploring sometimes, they experience it. There are so many people that have gone through this and that have come together on different platforms and different forums that have discussed this phenomenon and that have also come to realize that they're not crazy and we've all experienced this. Many people have said also during their own experiences, whether they were by themselves or in large groups, it often felt as though the woods had its own intelligence and it was out to hurt them. Many people that experience this in groups simultaneously would share the same experience and say they heard and they felt the same exact thing and they were all panicked. There are many ways we can debunk this. We could say that when we're alone and when things are quiet, we usually feel very vulnerable to predators to begin with. That could just be part of our psyche and just how we feel. That is a very easy way to explain it. There are a large number of people on internet forums that have shared their different experiences with Panic in the Woods, and I do want to share some of them with you guys just because I'm sitting here alone in my room and I'm almost getting that silent feeling, and I feel like it's the perfect time to share a few stories about people being alone and in a very silent area. Like I said, I am reading this off of Reddit. I will reference the users and I will try to link the thread down below for you guys to go ahead and read. See what you guys can find about it and kind of see if any of it triggers anything from your memories as a child or anything you even experience now if you go out exploring. First one comes from Double Paw is the username. I never knew this was a known phenomenon. Thank you for that. It doesn't have to be in the woods or even anywhere terribly isolated. The first time it happened, I was about 11 or 12 in the late 80s in an extremely suburban area in the middle of New Jersey. It had snowed overnight and I decided to take a walk through the neighborhood in the morning. My path took me through a cemetery. that I'd been in tens of times before without any incident, that is bordered by a residential road on one side and a very busy county road on the other. When I reached a section near the back, that's when I noticed that I didn't hear any birds anymore, but more terrifyingly, I couldn't hear any traffic from the nearby busy road, which if anything was louder than normal thanks to the slush the cars were moving through. No sounds except for my own footsteps in the snow. That's when a feeling of being watched and unwelcome hit, and I ran home as fast as humanly possible. There are a lot of people that explain that these happened when they were children and they didn't really know that this was something a lot of people went through. And it's so weird. When I first stumbled across this thread, I thought it was so weird that other people also came across this, and I was like, oh my god, I'm not crazy. Other people experienced this. This next one comes from Feed a Fad a Beef. I experienced panic in the woods as you defined it as a child while staying in a cabin in the high Sierras. I was about 9 years old, playing with my sister, 2 other boys, and our pack of family dogs near a huge lake deep in the woods. One second we were playing, the next second I was flooded with the overwhelming feeling that I was being watched and that I needed to run to safety. I remember being filled with dread and all of my senses were on high alert. My skin was prickly and I couldn't breathe. I could have ran back to the cabin or down to the water's edge, but for some reason I couldn't turn around and chose to flee to the curve of the lake about a block away. I knew I had to run, and my sister and I took off for the curve of the lake. I ran for my life that morning, and I have no idea why or what evoked those feelings or why I chose to run where I did. Now, when I first really thought about this phenomenon and how it occurred in the woods, I thought about how a lot of people think the woods are creepy to begin with, and I think we can blame Hollywood for a lot of that. You know, that's where all the scary things happen, or when you're out in the woods, when you're at sleepaway camp. I also think too that in just, you know, true crime and stuff, a lot of bodies are buried out in the woods and a lot of satanic rituals take place out there. The woods are also unknown. If you travel into a large area where you don't know and it's all wooded, you're gonna panic to begin with. A lot of people ask too, is this paranormal or is this just like an instinct that we have as humans? And I'm inclined to think that it's the latter. I think it might be a survival instinct. We used to hunt in groups, you know, back in the day, and I think anybody, if they were alone and they couldn't hear other people near them, it causes you to panic. You never know if a predator could come after you, and you're gonna panic if you feel like you have nobody to help defend you. I can also say though, this could be paranormal depending on where you are. You guys know I say all the time that basically anywhere you could be standing could be haunted. Even places that are not frequented by investigators, there's still a very good chance that there could be a spirit lingering nearby. Now, I know when we talk about Holcomb Woods and Holcomb Road, when I go out there, I have this feeling, and I've definitely experienced the panic in the woods out there, but I think that's more so because of the legend of what happened out there, and I think that freaks me out more than anything. But I do feel like maybe your psyche does get the best of you while you're out there. But who knows, it could be paranormal depending on where you are and what has happened in that area. If you guys have ever experienced this phenomenon before, please let me know down below. There's so many stories online about this, and I'm probably going to be reading them for the rest of the night because I think they're so interesting. If you guys have an opinion, whether this is about just our ancestors and how they used to hunt and that whole theory, or if it could be more paranormal, please let me know down below. But please leave comments and talk to me about this. I think it's really interesting, and I would love to hear what everyone has to say. Thank you guys so much for tuning into another video. I appreciate all of you guys, and I will talk to you next time. Love you. Bye.